Hello and welcome to the JCN Clinic podcast show. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Carissa.
And for a minute, I forgot who I was. Did you notice that? I totally forgot what I usually say. It's like, you introduce yourself, you knob.
I actually thought you were doing that on purpose to just try and have a pause before the segue in or something. So anyway.
just
trying to
something
be
broke in my
cool.
brain. Something broke. Merry Christmas, everyone.
For this podcast. Yes, Merry Christmas.
This is our last podcast of the year, so we're a bit pumped because we're keen to have a holiday like you guys are, I'm sure. And as we have done other times of the year at this sign-off time with the podcasters, we're going to dive into some of your specific queries we get every year around the festive season. So essentially, how to look after yourself when all of the things are going on, all of the food, all of the booze, all of the parties. We want to talk about what we can do to navigate that and have you feel okay on the flip side. So if you're a frequent listener, you might be like, guys, you've talked about this before, but there's always something new we bring to the table. And
we hope.
We're just going to regurgitate the same stuff. No, we're not going to do that.
Will.
It's going to become with a fresh lens. And I think there might be a little bit more around navigating the environment potentially this year, but we will see. So looking after yourself at this time of year, I think the one thing that comes to mind first is that it's an extended period of time. A lot of the time with our clients, they'll be like, oh, I've got this 40th, or I've got this wedding, or I've got this event on the weekend. So it's usually like one evening, or it might be like a weekend away. But the thing with Christmas for most of us and the holiday season is that it tends to go for a minimum of a week to more like 2 to 3 weeks, as far as like signing off from work, maybe some Christmas party stuff for work, then into Christmas itself. Then we've got that time between Christmas, Boxing Day, all the way through into New Year, where lots of people are doing so much social stuff and catching up. It's an awesome time of the year. Then we've got New Year's, and then there's that maybe week before you're actually getting back into work for some too. So it tends to be a lot. And I think this is where we always feel like it's a good revisit, because it is
What the fuck was that, Jess?
Jesus, I actually just vomited out words. It's like
I literally.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my God.
It's not just one evening. So what that means is that we've got to be thinking about the additive effects of like partying hard for 3 weeks. And if you're coming into this time of year with wanting to look after your health, and you're just like a generally feel well person versus someone that has like gut issues or something you're working on with your practitioner at the clinic, throwing yourself into this hard will usually have you coming out the other end feeling like crap. So I think you need to pick your battles throughout this time. We can even say it like that. And maybe if there's 1 or 2 times over the holidays, pick those 1 or 2 events where you do want to potentially let your hair down a little bit more, whether that be about the food or having a few extra drinks, or just being a bit more lax with maybe your food plan if you're following something specific, so that you still have some flexibility in there, but not throwing all the caution to the wind and then going, well, I did this with this Christmas party, or I ate like this on Christmas. Oh, it's all done now. I'm just going to like eat like this right through to New Year's, and then I'll just get started again when New Year's kicks in. And that's where we see a lot of people come to us in New Year and they're just in like a real shit show of inflammation and they feel terrible. And we really can spend all of January just trying to get them back to where they were prior. So I guess, yeah, that was my first point is like, remember it's an extended period of time for most. It may not be for you, but for a lot of people, I think you would see with clients that there's lots going on. So yeah, just the way we would say if someone came to us, to go back to that analogy, I've got a wedding on the weekend. It's like, it's just one day out of all the work we're doing. Like if you want to have a few things off the menu that you don't usually have, like we can navigate around that. So pick your battles as such, and don't go into it just kind of open slather from like Christmas Eve to New Year's Day. Yeah. That would be my first point.
Yeah, I think even just following on from that 100% is just learn to say no. Like you don't, I know we talk about this in every end of year podcast, but I just love exercising my right to say no. And I'm so good at it. But I really, if you need if this is your sign from the universe to have permission to say no to things that you don't actually need to attend or go to, then take this right now as that. Purely because I think everyone is exhausted coming into the end of the year. It is the home stretch, as we always talk about. But as we all are, you know, it's quite commonly 3 to 4 months since any of us had a decent time off, like holiday time off. So we're really pushing it to the finish line and all of that, which is so great. But just be really respectful of your downtime and how much you fill your calendar up. I am just so like adamant about that with my clients, my friends. I have absolutely no dramas saying people, even if I commit to something and it gets closer to it and I just decide that for me it's going to be too much, I just call it. I'm very honest about why. I'm just like, my mental health is more important to me. I'm already feeling a little bit tired. I've got enough on this weekend, therefore I cannot make X event. I literally did this to the girls on the weekend, like Lex and Steph clinic, because we were all going to have a catch up. I had other things booked into this weekend, like family stuff, and I just knew the thought of all of it in one weekend was giving me anxiety, so I just culled. And I just culled, not saying it wasn't important to catch up with the girls. I'm bummed that I missed it, but I know I can catch up with them again at any time I need to. But literally I try and cull anything that gives me anxiety or a feeling of overwhelm when it comes to commitments. So
yeah,
and I
think
I
like that. It's easier said than done, because a lot of people struggle with doing that and saying exactly those two letters in unison.
I think it's kind of cool though, like people are getting more respectful of no and less guilt tripping around it. But I think if you're someone who does have guilt trips put on you by friends or even family or anything like that about not being able to attend something, then not saying you can question your family circle. You know, friends should be really understanding of that. Like, I think I'm lucky my friend and work circle and family circle, they're all very understanding, but I literally just lay it out from a mental health point of view. I know what I can and can't handle in terms of, social interaction, but also how much downtime I need when I'm having busy work weeks. And my work weeks at the moment, as Jess's are full to the freaking brim, and they are that way until stumps at Christmas. So I know for me, work at the moment and my clients are my priority, and my little social things that I have the bandwidth to do, but anything extra for me is if I feel overwhelmed coming up to it, it's just a fuck no.
Yeah, for sure. And also off the back of what you're saying, how much you jam into that time, which comes definitely to saying no. But when at the moment everyone's talking about, oh, it's gonna be great, gonna have a holiday, have a really good holiday, have a rest, and then so often the conversation in the new year when you talk to people is like, I'm just exhausted, that was not a holiday, I feel like I need a holiday from that. And a lot of the time it's because we've tried to do everything. And I understand that the Christmas component itself with family can be full on for a lot of people. But yeah, again, if possible, there might be other things within that time frame that you can be saying no to, or asking yourself, do I really need to do all of this? Like, would it be better with the week I have after everyone's gone after Christmas, instead of doing all these social events, that I actually clear half of them and just have some like chill out days at home and like watch some movies or like go to the beach, like whatever it
Read a
is that you
book.
want to do, just like have some downtime. Because if you don't, that's when you're coming back and you're just like, I don't even feel like I had a holiday.
Yeah,
Like I
not
just,
cool.
yeah. And we've all been there, that's for sure. I just,
Yep.
it's so big. I'm like you these days. It's one of my biggest things. Like I'm so excited for Christmas and having family here, but I'm also just as equally excited as when everyone goes. And I know that I'm going to have a good week that'll be just me and my time.
Yeah.
And just me and Sparkles. Hey, Sparkles.
Hey, Sparkles. Well, I also have a bit of a running joke, like my brother and I, like we love Boxing Day more than Christmas Day, because
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Day is always like, I love it, but it's just so full on, and it's, it's great, but it's, yeah, and we both like, we're sticklers for Boxing Day because that's usually when it's just now everyone's narrowed down to the core crew, and it's just so much more relaxed. You're just having a couple of drinks, eating leftover food. Like Christmas Day is just, I feel like, nuts for most people, and I'm just such a, like, I love Christmas Day, but I'm also like, fucking bring on Boxing Day, man.
So
Oh
let's talk
dear.
more about maybe food. And I think for a lot of our clients, particularly from a gut health perspective, food can be a little bit of a hard place to navigate. So if you're approaching it with maybe a gluten-free lens or a dairy-free lens, or maybe you're following something's a bit more low FODMAP or something's a bit more like sort of SIBO diet, there might be some form of restrictions that you have in place for yourself at the moment or with your practitioner. We totally get that can make this time of year a bit harder because you are in gatherings where everyone's coming together and there's all these different foods. So this is where you again need to approach this with what is the right choice for you. And I can tell you that every client that I talk to, this conversation will look a little different, the same as with Chris's clients, because everyone's at a different point. We definitely don't want to create too high of an expectations that everything has to be perfect. There has to be a little bit of give and take, but there's going to be one person that can go into this time and be a little bit more flexible with their food choices and not experience a massive flare with their symptoms versus someone else that does potentially need to be a little bit more mindful of how much they're letting the reins loose. And I feel like you need to be honest with yourself about this, because you will know yourself, and whether this is just someone listening who isn't a client or clients who are listening, you know when you push the boundaries, how you respond. You know how full on it is. You know how long it takes you to get over that, and you know the intensity of what you're dealing with. So that's where I think it's such an individual aspect. Like if you decide on, say, Christmas Day with all the food out, that you want to have a piece of that pav with whipped cream, and your sacrifice is that tomorrow you're probably going to be bloated and have loose bowels, but 24 hours later you're going to be you're just like, I know by now, like I'm pretty good, I'll be all right, on the flip side of that, versus the person that's like, I want to have a piece of that pav, I know it's probably going to wipe me out for like 4 to 5 days. I'm going to have no energy. I've got my kids' event on this day. Like what I'm trying to paint is context. So please, first and foremost, make choices based on context. And I guess if you're not sure about that, particularly if you're a client, have conversations with your practitioner about what that looks like for you, because that's our job too, to be able to give some guidance and give you an idea of what we think you should be able to do, because we want you to enjoy yourself. Like I never want clients to restrict. I want them to be able to have the food that is on offer and to enjoy themselves. But also I come at it with my practitioner's hat of like, well, I also don't want you to have this massive inflammatory flare. So if you're like highly reactive to gluten, and I suspect like, potentially going to have like some sort of like, high systemic inflammatory response, like maybe we do need to be a little bit more cautious. So I think how you approach food first, but then also with the food itself is, we've talked before about how you can contribute to the food in social occasions. I feel like with family and with Christmas, usually this is like where it happens the most. We've got like whatever your traditional family spread is. There's a lot of bring a plate, bring a salad, bring this, bring that. So there's usually going to be some form of protein happening for most families, whether it's seafoods or roast meats or so forth, and that's pretty safe for most. So it might be that you choose to bring along some sort of salad or side dish that you can share with the family, but you know that works for you, and make something fun and special that you don't have all the time. So think about how you can contribute. And I would also say that with a dessert. So if you feel like you want to bring something that's desserty, so when there's a dessert being dished up that you would like to have or just partake in, perhaps you can look at something you can bring along for yourself. And again, not just something boring like some fruit salad. Like, go and
Gelato.
spend a little bit of money on yourself. And like, if you don't like to cook, like buy something from a shop. Like, go and spend a little bit of money on yourself and get something that's a little bit more special. So I think contributing food and bringing it to the family situation, so you don't get stuck, obviously, number one, and also you're still enjoying yourself. That'll be my sort of major 2 points with food. But yeah, anything from your side of the table, pardon the pun?
No. No, I just love that's exactly what I say to all my clients. I just contribute, bring something. If it's something where you've got like a bit of a kitchen control freak where they don't want you to contribute to food and they want to do everything, but you feel quite adamant that there's definitely some things there that you need to be able to eat, then maybe just having that conversation and just like, again, asking us as practitioners is a great idea, because we can always coach you into how to have the conversation sometimes with people.
So
and
true.
the easiest way, rather than saying, I'm on a low FODMAP diet, I need you to cater for that. Explain to them, all the foods that you can have sometimes is a better approach versus giving just a blanket term of low FODMAP, because not everyone's not going to know what that is. Same thing for gluten and stuff like that. So I think sometimes just if you are a little bit stuck with how to have those conversations with people, if you're not able to bring food, like ask us as your practice, because we've got we've navigated this space ourselves for fucking decades.
Yeah.
Literally, in terms of family events, and obviously helped our clients navigate this space. So we are very well versed in types of dynamics and conversations to have and how to best approach them and things like that. So if you are stuck, ask us. But yeah, I think, that's kind of it in that space. And then the next thing I think would be, are we going to go into like just thinking around not overeating and all that kind of stuff and just looking after yourself?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I think we do touch on this in a lot of our end of year podcasts, but again, just remembering that it is an extended space, Christmas. It's not just a one-off meal where if you overeat and, have a heap of different things and stuff, it's sometimes eating over a couple of days or a couple of weeks of different events and stuff. So just being mindful of what your Christmas and New Year's space looks like, and just like, again, not saying you have to be a martyr about it, but just knowing your limitations, I think, is a really good idea. And just knowing too, like, just those foundational concepts that Jess and I always talk about. Like, my Christmas lunch, honestly, apart from the fact that it's a lot fancier, it's still very similarly balanced to a lunch that I would have every day of the fucking week. Yes, it's probably a bit more extravagant where it's got a blend of proteins, maybe with some seafood or some chicken and some really nice ham and beautiful salads and a bit of potato salad or gluten-free pasta salad, but it's not that far removed from how I eat day to day. So I think just, keeping that in mind as well can be really helpful, of just how, so you don't, kind of just eat and overeat and, do all the things and then all of a sudden feel really shitty after a couple of days of it. I think you can still have a beautiful Christmas without going completely nuts.
Yeah, there's a real psychology with Christmas where people think that they have to just gorge themselves. I don't know. I know it was like that with my family. Christmas was about just massive piled up plates and just, honestly, I used to associate Christmas when I was a kid and teenager with being so full that you're in pain.
Yeah.
Like,
That you're in pain.
it's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that's not every family, but there is a lot of excessiveness about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just, particularly when it's happening day after day, or, you know, a couple of times a week with these social occasions, that's where it can really get on top of you, whether it's just something to do with your trying not to expand the waistline over Christmas too much, or whether it is actually about literally pressure you're putting on your digestive system, because that's a huge amount of pressure to put on your system to be like constantly over consuming, or as you were saying, Rissy, about just even that balance of food and how you're putting that onto your plate. I think the other last one would be good old alcohol, which we touch on every year.
Yeah.
It's huge, in particularly with Australia, Australian listeners, obviously over in probably New Zealand as well. I'd be interested to hear from people listening from other countries about like how alcohol is for Christmas. I guess even in the UK it'd be a big thing. I mean, it's massive. They come hand in hand. So because this is an extended period, you need to apply the same lens to your alcohol consumption. So if you want to choose, I know for me, that's what I tend to do. It's like, well, I definitely want to enjoy some drinks with my family on Christmas and have a beautiful wine with lunch. And like, we always enjoy having a few bubbles. So it'll be something like that. And then usually there'll be some time where I enjoy with my family having a couple of cocktails that we would make. But I'm going to choose my times. I could very easily have that roll from day to day to day because I'm not working. It's just like, oh, it's wine o'clock. You know? Like, it's really, really common that it just rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls. So you've got to consider that accumulation. You will not get to the end of 3 weeks of Christmas of drinking every day without feeling like shit. You will feel like absolute shit. If you have,
I love that you're like, you will feel like
you
absolute
will.
shit.
You just
if
so
you drink
will.
for 3 weeks. Oh my gosh, yeah, 100%.
You can kid yourself and say that you won't, but you will. And also if you have health issues and you do that every single day, like, you're just asking for trouble. Like, it's so much more inflammation. It's so that as a causative factor. So, well, an additive factor, I should say. So just think about how much you're having. And then also if you've got particular health concerns that are gut based, often what we'll do with our clients, we've actually got a post going up on it. Actually, by the time this goes up, it's probably been, so you can go and look at our socials about alternative alcoholic beverages. So we get that people are still going to drink. We're not going to expect everyone to not drink, but also it might be like, well, what could I have instead? So I know that I've got all these gut issues. Is there some drinks that I can have that would be better for me? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know. I feel like every year, again, like, this is a smashed out question. I feel like every client at this time of the year, it's like the same thing. So we'll often recommend some lower sugar options and some lower sort of fermented drinks, like things that haven't got, like, beer and wine are usually what we're trying to steer clear of, a lot of that. So we're looking at alternatives. But again, go and have a look at the socials post, because there's some really good ideas on that, because you can definitely see a difference where when you do decide to have some drinks and having those particular drinks with gut issues, how much better you'll feel the next day and the days to follow from drinking alcohol that you know upsets you. And the people listening know this. Like, if you have those types of gut issues or histamine reactivity, you know exactly what we're talking about, how absolutely crap you feel the next day just from like a glass of wine, versus like how we can use other drinks. Am I being nasty not mentioning the drinks and trying to tell people to go to the socials? Should we talk about some of those drinks, or should we make them go to the socials?
I don't know.
You're like, I don't know, Jess. What's one of, well, okay, I did this social post, guys. So Rissy, what are some of your favorites for people who are like
Are you talking like alcoholic alternatives or non-alcoholic alternatives?
Like still containing alcohol. Good. Actually, there's alcohol alternatives for sure. But if someone's like, I would still like to have a drink, what's a better option for me, particularly with my gut issues and sensitivities?
100%. My clients love me for this because I'm like, if you have gut issues, obviously, like just mentioned, the wines, beers, ciders, they obviously can be so aggravating for your histamine and SIBO-y people and, candida-y people. I'm like, have a margarita. So go for your clean spirits, a good quality vodka, a good quality tequila. Obviously, don't overindulge because now we're in the spirit space. But I find, like, for me, one of my clients was just so happy because not that she's a big drinker, but she wants to be able to have a drink or two drinks with her partner. And because she's been going through all this gut stuff, and it's just, I recommended a margarita to her, and she literally had two of them. And the next day, for the first time in so long, years, I think she said she actually felt good after it having, as opposed to drinking wine and all those things to stir your gut up. So I'm like, clean spirits, soda water, stay the fuck away from sugars and sugar additives.
Yeah.
There's some of my classics, like vodka soda. I know gin's on there. I'm not a gin drinker, so I always forget to recommend it. But like a vodka soda and lime or a good clean margarita, I think, are my top picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mine are on the tile. Go look at the tile, guys. While you're there, follow.
You know what I think is actually fucking cool, since we probably did this last year, is the non-alcoholic wine space and beer space has really exploded over the last 12 months. And I think I am really loving that space as someone who is actively trying to consume less alcohol in any way, shape or form. And I absolutely love having a drink, but I know that, it's not, I'm definitely someone who can't drink have 3 days in a row of having afternoon drinks and stuff like that. It affects my digestion, it affects my mental health, it affects my energy. So for me, what I've really trying to be tap into is, what are these other social alternatives that don't taste like fucking shit, artificial sweetener or whatever. And there's some really good stuff. Like, I'm going to give it, this isn't probably, could actually be our recommendation. I was going to
say, should we make these our recommendations? Because I've got a few too.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to say mine because I am loving the Altina wine variety. It's Altina, I think. I've done a post about them on socials.
Okay.
But I can do another one if anyone wants. Just send me a DM on Instagram and I can flick you their Instagram page and stuff. They're non-alcoholic wines. They're very botanical, if that's the way to describe them. So they don't have any of the sweeteners and stuff added, which I think is what really turned me off about a lot of the stuff in Coles and Woolies. Even though they were good as a starting point, because we didn't really have much else to compare them to, the market has just gone gangbusters. And now just even the thought of having some of those more stevia or erythritol sort of sweetened stuff, you can only have one or two and you're done. Whereas these wines are de-alcoholized, and they look, I've had a couple that actually taste like wine, which is cool, which is interesting because I'm not a wine drinker. But I like these because they don't have the effects that wine has on me. So you get these beautiful bottles. There's like a rosé. There's something that tastes. They do a Shiraz, which to me is it's almost more like it's very light. I wouldn't say it's Shirazi, but again, just they're quite florally, but they are very nice alternatives. They come in a nice bottle. So like, what I love about it is that if you're someone who knows that the booze will be starting at 11 a.m. on Christmas Day, and you know that it's probably not going to finish up till 9 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, which is typically like what our family day sort of looks like. And some people will drink for the duration of that. Some people won't. It just depends obviously on the dynamic. But for me, I would love to start the day with something like one of these. Even if I have a glass of bubbles to start off with, then I switch onto soda water and these non-alcoholic wines. At least I still feel like I'm doing something. I know it's psychology and I don't give a fuck, but I'm not sinking piss all fucking day and waking up Boxing Day feeling like shit. And then I can just have a couple of beers in the afternoon or a vodka soda or something like that, depending. But that's definitely my trend that I've been doing a lot with stuff, and I'm absolutely loving it, and it's really working because I don't feel like I'm missing out, in air quotes, but I still got this nice sexy bottle of something that I can pour into a wine glass, and it tastes pretty good, and it's low calorie, low calorie, guys.
Loving
which I
this.
Love not having a whole bottle of wine and consuming 20,000 calories, I think. So 20, it is though, right? Like even some of the even some of the other things, like some of the non-alcoholic beers and stuff, I look at them and I'm like, I know I'm not about calories, but also I'm not going to consume that level of calories for something that's just Like,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna, for me, it's got to be a good trade off. Like, I don't mind the calories that come in beer because it's beer and I fucking love beer, but I'm not going to drink non-alcoholic beer that's higher in calories than my normal beer.
It tastes like shit.
It tastes like shit. Like, I have all these rules around what I'm doing here, so I'd rather just drink fucking soda water. But some of these wines, so the Altina brand is the brand that I'm really loving at the moment. Just for something, bottles are sexy. They've got all these different varieties. So yeah, again, it's a little bit botanical and florally. So it may not be your cup of tea, but I don't mind that because it's just something nice with some ice. I've been adding some fresh fruit to them. They look sexy in a glass. So that's my
love it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got there's a few of them, but the main one is interestingly a wine too. My sister put me onto it. I'd never heard of them, called Tread Lightly. So these still are, this is kind of grazing the edges actually. So it still actually does have alcohol in it, but it's a low alcohol, like significantly low. So they do a bubbles, a rosé, and a Pinot that I've had, and I was so shocked at how nice they were. As a bit of a wine snob, I feel like the Pinot is probably the one that, like, I still enjoyed them all. Probably the Pinot is the one that I'd put third, but the bubbles and the rosé in particular. And just to give context, when I was at my sister's a few months ago for my nephew's birthday, we were drinking the bubbles and just having a champagne flute throughout the party. So maybe over like 4 or 5 hours, like we had one and we're just sipping away, but it was like topped up. We would have easily have had a half bottle between us, and then maybe we had a bit of the rosé as well. The whole day felt nothing from just sipping away on that, whereas if I was usually drinking bubbles, I would know it within like quarter of a glass of like, whoo, you can feel that feeling. Like it's so low that like, it's that ability to metabolize and break down the alcohol is so much more effective. So the good thing about them too is because I've also dabbled with a lot of non-alcoholic wines, and I don't like the flavor. I think I've got a whole load of non-alcoholic champagnes, bubbles that I haven't really had any of those that I was massively a fan of, but these are particularly good. And I think for Christmas, particularly the bubbles and the rosé with like a hot summer day, really, really yummy.
I'm gonna check them out.
This
is what I worry about with this is what I worry about with the Altina is I feel like someone like you who actually drinks. I'm not a wine drinker, so for me but I feel like I gave one to my cousin and she was like, which was definitely the lesser flavored of all of them, and she is a wine drinker. She's pregnant at the moment though, so when we had our family thing last week, I said, I've got this non-alcoholic wine, do you want to try it? And she's just like, what did she call it? She had this really funny name for it, but anyway, it was just something like bullshit wine. But anyway, but she didn't mind it. But yeah, she is a wine drinker, so I don't know how like someone who like you who is a wine drinker might drink this and be like, it's definitely not even close to wine. But I want to try the ones you're talking about. I am keen if anyone's got any good non-alcoholic beers for me to try. Like there's a lot of brands I haven't tried. I tried the Great Northern alcohol-free and I wasn't a fan, but I do like normal Great Northern if it's on tap. But I haven't tried any of the better beers or anything like that yet that are quite trendy. So I'd be keen to, if anyone's got any good non-alcoholic beer recommendations that aren't crazy calorie, that, or bloaty, I would be keen to try them.
Yeah. There you go, guys. Let us know. Let us know the beers.
You're like the wine connoisseur. I'm like the beer connoisseur.
Yeah, exactly.
like it has to be a specific taste, otherwise I'm like, not doing it.
I still also love Seedlip. Seedlip have been around for a long time, and they're like a botanical, completely alcoholic-free mixer. And I the only thing for me with Seedlip is that I like it strong. So if I had like a sort of standard glass you would serve, say, a gin and tonic in, I'm almost like a third to half of it I want Seedlip, and then I'll top it with some tonic or some soda. That I love because you get like the real flavor of all the botanicals. Whereas if you do like a shot pour, it just, I don't know, I feel like you just can't get it. But it's pricey, you pay for it, but then again, like it's something special to have over that time frame. And it's so nice, like, yeah, just really strong with lots of ice, and you can have 3 or 4 of them easily in a row before I find I get sick of the flavor, because they aren't too sweet and you're not drinking, as you were saying, like some of the Naked Life stuff that's been around for a while now. Like, I don't mind them, but there's so much other sort of like your xylitols and stevias and stuff in them.
Yeah.
You have 1 or 2 of them and it starts to turn your stomach. You're like, oh,
yeah, I agree.
no, I can't
actually
do
get a bit
anymore.
headachy from it. Yeah, I get a bit headachy from it as well, like all those artificial, even though I know they're natural art. It's not like not like bloody aspartame, but still, yeah, I agree with you. It's just a bit too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right.
Wonderful.
We did it. Well, we hope, like, if you guys, again, have been long-term listeners, I'm sure there was some extra pearls in there, particularly even with our recos. So hopefully you've taken something from there. But thank you so much for listening to the podcast this year, and we'll hope that you'll be joining us next year when we start up again. It's been a pretty enjoyable, crazy fast year once again. Like, it's kind of blowing my mind, and we really hope that you guys have a nice break and take on board what we said at the start of this podcast. Like, please just have some downtime, recharge. Everyone needs it so badly. Use Carissa's no a few times.
Fuck no if you need to.
Yeah, if it needs to be extra direct, so you come back nice and fresh. Anything you want to say, Rissy?
I just think have a wonderful break. Thank you to everyone who does tune into our podcasts. We love that you guys listen. I had some really nice feedback over the last couple of weeks just from clients with our podcast, and even some new clients coming through that have been listening to us for a while. So thank you to everyone that does listen to our podcast. And Jess and I appreciate you guys from the bottom of our hearts. We're not huge sharers of a lot of stuff apart from clinic-based and educational-based stuff on social media. This is definitely where we have our space and our platform more so than social media. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for just sticking with us if you're a long-time listener, and welcome if you're a new listener. And next year's going to be fun. We've got some guests lined up, so we are pumped. You're still going to get the lack of organization that comes with all of our podcasts where we decide the day of what we're podcasting, but we might add some more structure next year. But let's be honest, we probably fucking won't. You'll just get whatever's on our mind on the day. But yeah, I hope everyone has an amazing Christmas. It's been a big year. It's been a big year for a lot of people in so many ways, but I think everyone, just chill the fuck out, have a good time, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you guys in 2024.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. All right, guys, Merry Christmas, and we love you heaps, and we'll see you in 2024.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.